I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on GBN, we're exploring a powerful story of faith, courage, and destiny. We're talking with a terrific author. His name is JSchuylerSprowles, and he brings his remarkable story to life. His storytelling talents are put to the test in an amazing book called The Young Samaritan. It is a gripping, faith-driven journey through danger, discovery, and divine purpose. Set in biblical times, yet profoundly timeless, it's a tale of redemption that reminds us of how even in our darkest moments, God's light still leads the way. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put him on TV today, and we ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his amazing book. The links are below this interview. Schuyler, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, Logan. This is a great opportunity to talk about the book.
It's a wonderful opportunity for us to learn more about this great book. I found the story so original, so unique, and very, very moving, particularly in the Christmas season. Tell me a little bit about the inspiration to write it.
Well, it's funny. I've always followed the Bible. I've been a member of a church, and that's a part of my life. That's who I am. And I came across this verse that I'd never really paid any attention to, and I think most people haven't. It was from the Gospel of Mark, and it was chapter 14, verses 51 through 52. And it's in the Garden of Gethsemane. And it's where a young boy, as it's described in the Bible, is taken by the guards who have arrested Jesus. And he breaks away from them. He's unidentified. Nobody knows who he is. But he breaks away from the guards, but they're holding his clothing. He has nothing on. And he runs naked into the Garden of Gethsemane, which is a big olive grove. And that's the last you hear of him. You never hear from him or see him again. And I thought that was very mysterious. And it's not mentioned in any of the other Gospels, but I thought that could be a story. I've always wanted to do a story that put the reader front and center with the story of Jesus going to Jerusalem, but I didn't have a handle on it. I didn't know quite how to do that. And then this passage in the book of Mark kind of made it all come together. And I felt like that's going to be my protagonist, and I'm going to create a story around him. And that's where it wrapped around in my head for many months. And then I finally started to get an idea of what I wanted to do with it.
Wonderful. Well, we're glad you flushed it out and developed it more. Your story is about a boy named Joshua, who is
Right.
treated cruelly at home by basically his stepfather,
Right.
a man who coerced his mother into marriage, to the point where the mother begs for him to flee. Uh,
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about the story.
Well,
Give us a little bit of an overview.
it kind of opens up that's near the beginning. And what's happened is there's been a big tragedy in his household. And Joshua just carries around that grief. It's like he's wearing that grief. It's heavy, it's in his bones. And there's a stepfather in the picture who does not want Joshua to be in the household. And his mother realizes that. And he realizes that Joshua's life is at risk. And and she says, you have to leave. You have to leave home. And it's just a horror. Here, you're an adolescent and you're being told to leave by a mother who loves you. And you love your mother, but you understand the circumstances and you head out into the unknown world. And that's really where this book kind of launches. The story of the young Samaritan just goes out to an unknown world. And what I think, a lot of people ask me to describe the young Samaritan, and I think it falls into two different kinds of stories. One, there's this adventure story involving this young boy who's out in the wilderness, and it's almost there are all the thrills and challenges and setbacks and victories that happen on a journey. Think of Raiders of the Lost Ark, that adventure kind of story. And then on the other hand, the other side of the story is this deeply personal story about
Mm.
Joshua, about his coming of age, but being so lost in this world, so alone, feeling so fearful. And along the way, you as a reader start to cheer for this boy. You identify with him. You identify with the setbacks and the feelings that he harbors. And you're following his story becomes your story for many people. And so you have these two kind of stories going forward, and it kind of goes from there.
It's wonderful, and it does impact you on multiple levels. Very impactful, of course, is when he's essentially rescued by a woman simply known as Mother.
Right,
And the poorer people in the community um, bring him back to good health
right.
and take him under their wing. Tell us about that aspect of the
Well,
story.
that I mean, he was so desperate and alone. He traveled so far from his home, and he wasn't really sure what he was going, where he was headed. And he stumbles into this village, and he's practically near death of thirst. And he hasn't. He's just been out in the broiling sun for a couple of days traveling, and he doesn't have any resources at all. He's just basically flat down desperate. And he collapses in the arms of this woman. And we find out later her name is Mother. And all the villagers around there kind of look to her for support. She is taking care of the poorest of the poor. And she brings him in and she kind of nurses him back to good health. He can't stay, although he wanted to stay very much. But she said, you have to move on. You have to keep going forward, which he does. And there's a later rendezvous with this same person named Mother, and it's kind of a key element of the story later on in the
Exactly.
young.
We don't want to give away too much. And he has
Right.
an encounter with another biblical figure that is, of course, very, very impactful and the essence of the story in many ways. Um, is there a message here or a parallel or a metaphor that you want people to take away from this book and Joshua's journey?
Well, there's certainly this is a spiritual journey, but you don't have to look at it as a spiritual journey for yourself. It can be just a life journey. We're all on a journey of one form, in one form or another. And I think, in my personal opinion, I think we're all on a spiritual journey. It's for us to discover where that fits in your life. But if there's something I want to leave people with, is this is the kind of a story that will make you think. You will realize that you've been transported to another time in another place, and you participated through Joshua. You've been in it. You're not just a fly on the wall. You're in the midst of this story. And I think that leaves with you, it lingers with you. You read the last page, you close the book, and I think that for a lot of people, this story stays with you. The characters, Joshua's journey, how it relates to your own journey. And I think those are the strong messages from this book.
Absolutely. How does it relate to your own spiritual journey?
Well, mine is gradual over the course of time. I didn't come from a particularly religious family. I loved my parents to distraction. They were very good to me. My father happened to have been an alcoholic,
Mm.
and I think that had a bearing on my life growing up. Um, but that was just part of it. He was never mean. He was never cruel. He tried his best, but he was very limited by his alcoholism. That brought him down. And then he died suddenly when I was 18. It wasn't so much sudden. He had dissipated. He was smoking 3 packs of cigarettes a day, and that was probably still when you're 18. It's still a surprise, and it's hard to take. And I think part of the journey with Joshua and the grief that he holds is something that I related to very much, and probably wrote into that.
Yeah. Yeah. The loss of his father, literally, the loss of your father, figuratively, and 18 years old is a young age to lose your dad, and particularly when he'd been struggling for a while, it sounds.
Right, right.
Yeah. Is this your first time writing a novel?
It is. I've done a lot of writing in the past. I was in your business way
Yeah.
back when. I was in news and television news, and I've always find myself writing whether it was scripts, news reports, many things like that. And then I ended up in public relations and public affairs for large government agencies, but was always writing. Was always trying to tell a story or writing a speech, and I think that I reached a point in life where I had more time on my hands. I had a son that was continuing to pester me that I needed to write a story. write a novel. And this one had always been kicking around in my head, the idea of transporting people to another place in another time and going from there. But I want to add one thing. This book, even though there is very much a spiritual story to this, you don't have to be necessarily, it's not a preachy book. You don't have to be particularly religious in order to gain something from this story. In fact, from the reviews, many of the reviews are from people that say, I'm not religious at all. I've scarcely looked at the Bible or been in church, but yet this story moved me. And I was so gratified to hear things like that because I made it a point. I didn't want to preach. I can't. I'm not a theologian. I'm not a biblical scholar. But I felt pretty confident that I could tell a story and that I can put the reader right in the midst of it. And so hopefully that's what's been done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You've accomplished that goal. It's a great story. It feels like a timeless tale in many ways, that this might have been something out of great literature. And it's modern literature. It's what you've written, and it is great literature. Have you envisioned this as a film? I know you're a multimedia
Well,
type
it
of
has a
person.
lot of, and there have been a number of views along those lines that said this could be a movie. Well, that's from your lips to God's ears. That would be
Exactly.
great. But I mean, it's kind of tough to get anyone to look at it from that
Sure.
respect. But I think it has a lot of cinematic kind of color to it.
Yeah.
Uh, Many of the scenes, and I think on a personal level, many of the heartfelt kind of drama, emotion, and this could play very well on the screen, in
Absolutely.
my
It's
humble
got
opinion.
Yeah, it's got it, like we've said before. It really impacts you on multiple different levels, from a story
Yeah.
of a spiritual journey to just an adventure, and I think it'd be wonderful. So Hollywood, if you're listening, from
Yes.
our lips to Hollywood's ears, right?
Yes.
Let's turn
Yeah,
this
I'm right by
into
the
a
phone.
movie. Yeah, absolutely. Talk to us a little bit about the symbolism of the wild dog that accompanies Joshua.
Well, of course, you were talking about my own life. I had a dog that I loved dearly. He was my boyhood best friend. But I think that I it, I think that's the first friend he makes really on his journey, on this odyssey to try to find what he's looking for, to find where he belongs. And this stray dog, just in this village, first he takes his sandals and he runs off with them, and then he comes back with these saliva-soaked sandals and drops them at his feet. And so Josh was thinking, "Great, thanks for bringing it back, but look at him." But and he goes on, but he looks behind him, and the dog is still sitting there, and now he's probably 100 yards away or longer. And then he says, "Well, come on and join me." And so it really becomes his first friend, and he tags along with him. He stays with him, and then at some point he gives him a name. He names this stray dog Journey, and it's fitting. And that's what he says to Journey. He says, "Everybody says on some kind of a journey. I don't know what it is, but you might as well be Journey to me." So
Wonderful.
it began a good friendship, the two of
Yeah.
them.
Absolutely. And if you were on a journey like that, you'd be blessed to have a dog like Journey with you, no doubt.
Oh, no question about it. Yes.
What's next for you as a writer? Are you thinking about writing any more
Well,
books? Do you have the bug now?
I have a desire to write books, to more books. I've kind of watched the progress of this book, and I'm getting to the point now where I may want to launch into something. Um, I may keep it in the spiritual vein, and even a series of short stories that describe people that are down and out. Or they're deeply troubled. They're kind of lost souls, and they have this experience, not a out of this world kind of experience, but they meet somebody and it changes the projection of their life from there. And I just thought of various instances where I could make individual stories out of that. That's one idea I have. And then another story, perhaps I mentioned my father before, and maybe something that's slightly memoir, but also kind of create a story around it too. I spent a lot of times in taverns with my dad. Uh, he would invite me in to join him, and heck, as a boy, you just go along. You're there with your dad, but that was probably not the place for me to be. And
No.
but yet, I had a lot of experiences from those days, and
Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
there could be a story there.
Exactly. Yeah. When your dad brings you to the pub it's a big deal. You know, you really feel like you're one of the men now.
Yeah,
So like you said,
that's
it's a
right.
place you shouldn't be. But I remember my dad would bring me occasionally and playing on the little bowling thing that had the
Oh
sand
my
on it.
goodness, you must have been in the same place. I had a little bowling thing too.
I think all of those bars had that same bowling machine with the little hockey puck
Yeah,
that you threw with the
yeah, and there was a
sand and
big
all of
black and
that.
white TV up there, the original
Exactly.
sports
And what's
bar.
dad going to do in the bar with you? Then give you a couple of quarters, you know,
Yeah,
and
go play the jukebox, play the bowling machine.
exactly. Maybe a sip of the foam of his beer. Maybe every now and then, got a taste of that. Wonderful. Well, great stories. You've got a lot of great material to work with, no doubt. This book is a number one, folks. It is called The Young Samaritan. It is a powerful story of faith rediscovered and courage tested in the face of divine destiny. It is a must read for anyone seeking a deeper understanding of God's grace through an unforgettable journey and unforgettable storytelling, or just want to experience an amazing adventure. Schuyler, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Well, thank you, Logan. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure's been all mine, sir. I appreciate your time, your insight, and the great work you've done on this book. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford for the Global Book Network. So long for now.